Welcome to BeamNG 0.38, which is probably BeamNG's least expected update ever. Why do I always have to die? Especially since this time around, the teasers they posted on their socials were absolutely incomprehensible. Like seriously, how do you expect anyone to figure out whatever this is? And not only was this update extremely unexpected, it was also quite huge. Because not only do we have one apartment-sized new vehicle, we have two. And on top of that, there's also a big update to my favorite map, as well as a ton of other neat little features. So make sure to watch this video until the end if you don't want to miss anything. And please,
like and subscribe.
Now as usual, keep in mind that all footage is from a pre-release version and that things may be different when the update comes out. This is the brand new Hirochi HT55, a rigid frame dump truck optimized for quarry work. And as the number 55 in its name suggests, it has a load capacity of 55 tons. You have no idea how hard I'm trying not to make a your mom joke right now. And the detail on this thing is so good. So much so that I'll have to give you an actual walk around. So let's begin with all the details on the outside, and then I'll also show you the interior with all the different buttons and levers, as well as all of the configurations. Now first things first, it's quite big, as you can tell. For reference, this is what a modern hatchback looks like next to it. It's basically a house. And fun fact, the 20-litre turbocharged straight-six engine is almost as big as an Ibishu Pigeon, which I find pretty hilarious, especially since it only makes 700 horsepower at 1500 RPM. It also has 3600 Nm of torque, which, fun fact, is actually the second highest of all BeamNG vehicles, only beaten by the V8 from the Gavril T-Series in its maxed out configuration, which achieves a ridiculous 6000 Nm. But in the world of rigid body mining trucks, this is actually considered mid to small sized, depending on who you ask. In fact, there's light duty trucks rated up to 40 tons, and mid-sized trucks up to 65 tons, which is where the Hirochi HT55 falls. These two classes of truck are mainly used in quarries, but for mining operations, they often need even larger trucks. Small-scale mining trucks are typically rated up to 100 tons, medium to large trucks up to 150 tons, and then there's the ultra mining class, with some trucks exceeding 300 tons of payload, which is almost enough to carry. Now, if you said that we don't have one of those, don't be, because you probably couldn't drive them anywhere except for grid map. But as for this one, you can actually whip it around without too many problems, as I'll show you later. Now though, let's check all of the cool little details the devs included. Starting from the front, there's these cute little ladders that you can swing around, very nice, which then take you to the two main ladders, which then take you to what's called the access platform, which we'll access later. I am so good at writing these videos, my god. On the side, you have these massive wheels with 35-inch rims and off-road tires, and something really cool is the fact that this truck has an orbital steering system, which uses hydraulics. What it means in practice is that the steering speed directly depends on the engine speed, since it's the thing powering the truck's hydraulic system. Now, I'll turn the wheels with a controller instead of a wheel, so I can input the full steering lock instantly. On the left, the engine is idling, while on the right, it's redlining. And as you can see, it's much faster. The steering being powered by hydraulics also means that if you're operating something else tied to the hydraulic system, like the dump bed in this case, it will fully divert the power from it. And if for whatever reason the hydraulic system breaks, your steering will stop steering. Carrying on with the tour, you got the fuel tank, the exhaust, and this cute little light that you can turn on from the driver's seat. And at the back, you'll notice that it's pretty thick. As you can see, it has dually wheels, which then go into this big metal ball of a differential. On this particular config, the differential is open, but other configurations come with a manually locking one, which, fun fact, is actually operated via a pedal. It also features hydropneumatic struts, which love to jiggle, as well as this light panel, featuring turn signals, running lights, a brake light, a reverse light, and a speaker for the reversing signal. And finally, on the other side, there's the hydraulic fluid reservoir, which is what I ripped off earlier to make the bed collapse and freeze the steering system. Something really cool that you can notice is the amount of pipes and fluid lines going everywhere. And if we head deeper inside, it gets actually crazy. The most insane thing though is that I'm pretty sure that none of what you just saw was randomly placed. So whatever BeamNG dev dedicated his life to doing this, I hope you're okay. The funny thing is that the other vehicle I'll be showing later is even more insane in terms of detail. But before that, let me show you around the interior of the HT55. So on this side of the access platform, you can open up this hatch to reveal the pigeon-sized engine. And if I close it, I can then access the cab. Here, you'll also find the air intakes, whatever this is, and finally, one of the mirrors, which you can actually node grab to change its orientation. And on the other side of the access platform, there's basically nothing. So let's open the door and sit on the seat, which, if you look closely, is mounted on some sort of spring. Gentlemen, we now have air ride suspension seats in Beamin G. Why does it look like Incredible Gassy? Just like the exterior, the cab of the HT55 is beautifully detailed. It even has a cup holder. Look at that. Now, as for what you can interact with, there's of course all the stuff you'd expect, like the ignition, the hazard lights, the parking brake, and the lever to tilt the bed up and down. But there's also a couple unique switches and functions. For starters, you can use this switch to turn on the work lights, which are the ones I showed you earlier. There's also a switch for raising the idle RPM, which is something you commonly find on vehicles with hydraulic systems. And on the opposite side, there's a switch that toggles the front brake cutoff. This basically disables the front brakes. And believe it or not, it's an essential feature to have on this type of vehicle. That's because when you're fully loaded up, the last thing you want is the front wheels locking when hitting the brakes, as you'd lose control over the steering and just plow forward. But by far the coolest feature is the manually adjustable hill assist brake coefficient, HABC for short. And to demonstrate what it does, let's go to the quarry. Yes, that's right, we now have a quarry. But more on that later. What you need to know is that we're now on an incline, and if I were to remove the parking brake, we would roll forward. Oh no, oh shit. But if before doing that, we increase the HABC by pulling down on this knob, the truck will automatically determine how much brake pressure it needs to apply to stop it from rolling on an incline. Very, very, very cool. Finally, the HT55 comes in 9 different configurations, including one without the bed, 2 preloaded configurations, and one suited for rougher terrain, which is the one that features the pedal-operated locking differential. There's also a config featuring a staircase, and yes, you can climb it in walk mode, as well as whatever this abomination is. I don't know who approved this, but something tells me it was this guy. Now, it is time to check out the second massive new vehicle. Gentlemen, this is the Hirochi WL40. So close, man. So close. This is what you would call a large wheel loader. And yeah, as you can see, it's large, it has wheels, and it can take a load. And just like with a quarry truck, I'll now give you a tour of this vehicular device. Starting from the front, the first thing you'll notice are the auxiliary lights, but also the fact that it has a massive front lift arm with a universal bucket. And of course, it's fully operational.
12 seconds later.
Now on top of the universal bucket, there are also 2 other mounts, but we'll check them out later. Carrying on to the side, it has these very nicely detailed wheels, as well as the tank for the hydraulic system. But the real star of the show is this. Like seriously, this is an unhealthy amount of detail. You can literally follow every single pipe and tube, and it will lead to somewhere that actually makes sense. Plus, most of them are even touchable. I mean, how cool is that? And finally, since the WL40 has a pivoting rear axle, as well as 4-wheel drive, the drive shaft tilts. This tickles my brain. Heading to the back, this is where you would jump on in order to get to the cab. But before doing that, let's go to the other side. Because here, right next to the steps, you'll find this little control panel. This tiny switch toggles the stair lights, while this other one with the red cover is the emergency cutoff switch. It basically turns it off. Now hopping on, which by the way you can do in walk mode, you'll find 2 openable doors to access the engine, which is an 1100 cubic inch turbocharged V8, pumping out 460 horsepower and 1900 Newton meters of torque. And I think this is one of my favorite details. There's a tiny little drive shaft powering the radiator fan. This detail is also present on the quarry truck, but here it's much easier to see. Very nice. Carrying on up, there's this hatch behind the cab that reveals something. And finally, before entering, you can again mess around with the mirrors. But now, let's open the door and check out the cab. Just like the HT55, the WL40 has the incredible gaseous seat. This is too funny, I can't. Now as for the interactive stuff, at the front there's the ignition and the parking brake. To the right, you can control the horn, the front lift arm, and the turn signals, which, by the way, you can see in action thanks to these cutouts in the headlight housings. But there's more. Moving up, you have a light on each side, and boy do they look good at night. And finally, at the top, there's a bunch more controls, including the light on the stairs, the fog lights, and the headlights. And on the other side, there's the hazard lights. Now, as you may have noticed, there is no steering wheel. That's because you control it with this joystick, which makes the WL40 pretty interesting. First off, I would recommend using a controller instead of a steering wheel, especially because with the new modifier keys, you can drive it and control the front lift arm at the same time, which is sick. But the thing that makes it weird to drive is that the steering doesn't go back to center when you let go of the stick. Yeah. Finally, the WL40 comes in 6 different configurations, which feature a lift arm with block forks, as well as one with a log sorting grapple. And so, that was it with the new vehicles in 0.38. And man, I have to say, this is so sick. So devs, congratulations, because you have indeed done it again. Which is a problem, because now I want more heavy machinery. Please. But that'll be for another time, because now there is still one more big thing in 0.38. The brand new marble quarry area on the Italy map, which I'll be telling you all about in another video. Gentlemen, unfortunately I've had to split this video into 2 parts because I couldn't get it all done in time and I didn't want to compromise on quality. So in just a couple days, I'll be posting the second part of the update video featuring the brand new quarry on the Italy map, as well as all the other small but still very important changes. I hope you understand and I'll see you soon.